Jerusalem Online, I'm Mike Grinspand, and here at Ben Gurion Airport, we're at the height of Operation Solomon, an airlift that's bringing the entire Jewish community of Ethiopia to Israel. These are the people behind the news, the people making the news, making history. Today we'll devote our entire program to telling their story.
Friday afternoon, the quiet hours normally before the beginning of the Sabbath, but this is no normal Friday. At exactly 4:40 p.m., a little boy steps out of an Israeli military transport and into the sunshine of his promised land. Operation Solomon is already several hours old. By the time it ends, a day later, more than 14,000 Ethiopian Jews will have landed on Israeli soil. The very old, the very young, the healthy and the infirm, men, women, and children, and religious leaders carrying the sacred writings that are their most prized possessions. An entire Jewish community flown to freedom.
This is the last group of a Jewish community that waited for thousands of years for this moment of coming back to their country. And we did it.
By day and by night, they continue to come. More than 1,000 Ethiopians in this jumbo jet, 3 times the normal capacity. Most Israelis know nothing of the airlift, still under wraps. But those at Ben Gurion Airport find it difficult to contain their emotions. An El Al captain.
Unbelievable. It's such an experience you can never tell it. I have no words.
Israeli soldiers.
I won't forget it all my life.
I'm very excited. Yesterday and today, all the time I'm crying.
But aside from an occasional greeting in a language still foreign to them, the newcomers are remarkably subdued, almost silent, perhaps too tired or shocked or shy to let their emotions show. Yet there is much to celebrate.
The girl.
Healthy?
Yeah.
When was it born?
An hour ago.
7 babies, the first Sabras, are born on the way to Israel, and Operation Solomon is proceeding better than expected. That's the result of intensive planning by the Jewish agency, the Israeli army, and members of Israel's government. Planning that began months ago, but was stepped up when the situation in Ethiopia became desperate.
This is a dream will come true. I'm proud to be a part in the Jewish agency. I'm proud to be a citizen of the state of Israel.
From humanitarian and Zionist point of view, it's the essence of what the state of Israel has been created for.
Never before did we have such a huge number of immigrants coming in a single day.
The numbers are impressive. So are the hopes Operation Solomon raises among the newcomers. I'm waiting to see my grandmother and grandfather, she says. They're here in Israel. And among veteran Ethiopian immigrants. I'm waiting for my parents. I haven't seen them for 3 years. And so as the airplanes unload their precious cargo, they look for familiar faces, the faces of relatives they haven't seen in as long as 6 years, when Operation Moses, an earlier airlift of Ethiopian Jews, came to an abrupt, premature halt. As the hours pass, it becomes clear that Operation Solomon is a success. Natan Sharansky, former prisoner of Zion in the Soviet Union, flies to Ethiopia and back in order to share the excitement.
It was like all Zionism in one picture, in one moment, in 1 hour, and at the same time 1,000 years of struggle. It was something fantastic.
Even veteran immigration officials are moved by what they've seen.
I saw soldiers crying from excitement. I saw pilots with full of pockets of candies and share candies to the kids, to the Ethiopian kids. I saw people that embraced those Ethiopians.
An entire country embracing its newest citizens, and Jews around the world joining hands to make it all happen.
We are a strange people. Nobody. I sat there thinking there are Kurds. There are people in trouble all over this world, and nobody really cares. And it made me very proud to be a Jew today. It's made me very proud to be a Jew.
More than 30 hours and 40 flights after the first planes take off for Addis Ababa, Operation Solomon is over. A fact, a part of history. The last plane back to Israel carries the Jewish agency staffers who made it happen. Like the Jews of Ethiopia, they too are home at last.
I thought that we will feel like heroes, but we just feel tired.
Behind the scenes of Operation Solomon lay a huge logistical challenge, a challenge met by the men and women of the Jewish agency. The commander-in-chief of the operation was the Director General of the agency's Department of Immigration and Absorption, Arnon Montfair. He's our guest. Arnon, what was involved in mounting this operation?
It depends how you count. If you speak about the level of management, I would say something like 50, 60 people, professional and management. If you talk about also the logistical people that will take care of this population in the new absorption centers that we are going to open, it's something like maybe 800 to 1,000 people.
It's not the first time that Israel has flown in Ethiopian immigrants in large numbers. The first time was in Operation Moses. How did the two compare?
It's really compared only by the principle of rescuing people. But then we brought people during 2.5 months. So basically it was one very intensive month. But now it's a question of 24, maybe 30, maybe a little bit more hours. So the intensity is much different in this time than then.
The last few weeks have seen very dramatic developments in Ethiopia, culminating with the departure of President Mengistu Haile Mariam from the country. How did they affect the timetable for Operation Solomon?
Oh, they had a tremendous effect, because there is no doubt that we are not working in a vacuum, and we had to take into consideration the situation. The United States was a very important element in supporting and assisting the whole operation, and it had an effect on the timing. It changed many times the exact time of the operation.
The Ethiopians have freed their remaining Jews, but what did they get in return?
First of all, as you probably know, the basis of the whole thing was always on the idea of family reunification. They looked for a political settlement, and that was maybe one of the few assets that they had in order to reach that settlement that is going to be worked out in the special convention, the special conference that they have in London between the rebels and the existing government.
Now that it's all over, how are you feeling?
Very good. I think it's a tremendous happening for the families, first of all, and taking care of something like 9,000 Ethiopians in our absorption centers. We know how painful it is, the fact that families are not together, and it's a great feeling to have those families together in Israel.
Arnon Montfair, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll have more on Operation Solomon when Jerusalem Online continues.
It's not a dream. Eldon, Israel's largest car rental company, with rentals starting from $189 per week. For reservations and information, call 1-800-533-8778. That's 1-800-533-8778. Eldon, try us first. Call now, say Jerusalem Online, and receive a complimentary copy of Eldon's Israel Mini Photo Book. Call 1-800-533-8778. We'd like to send you Dash from Israel, Drishat Shalom. It means best regards, and now you can see Israel as Israelis see it. Every month, 120 minutes of the best of Israeli television in Hebrew with English subtitles, mailed directly to you on VHS cassette. Subscribers tell us it's the next best thing to being in Israel. For the kids, it's a great way to learn Hebrew. So keep in touch with Dash, Drishat Shalom from Israel. Here's how to order. Write to this address or call toll-free 1-800-272-6538.
Rebel troops were closing in on the Ethiopian capital. President Mengistu Haile Mariam fled the country and sought refuge in Zimbabwe. And then the more than 13,000 Jews camped outside the Israeli embassy began the long journey they had all been waiting for. Jerusalem Online was there.
Veteran television journalist Micah brought back this exclusive footage.
For the more than 14,000 Jews living around the Israeli embassy compound in Addis Ababa, the day begins earlier than usual. 24 hours later, they will have taken part in the greatest human rescue effort in recent history. The long-awaited news comes at 5:30 in the morning, when local Ethiopian Jewish messengers quietly tell 30 families to spread the word. All Jews should gather at the embassy as soon as possible. By mid-morning, the initial trickle becomes a flood, with Jews joined by non-Jews hoping to escape the civil war raging in Ethiopia. Israeli officials check and double-check ID cards and computerized lists, careful to comply with Ethiopian government demands that only Jews be allowed to leave. If we don't do what we promised to do and take only Jews, we'll ruin it for ourselves as well as the Jews who will remain here. No one knows if the Ethiopians will stand by their commitment to let the Jews go, but everyone is certain this is the last window of opportunity before rebel factions begin the battle for Addis Ababa. At 1:45, the Ethiopian government gives the green light. As fast as they can be loaded, bus convoys head for the airport. On the tarmac, Israeli Air Force planes and El Al 747s are waiting. Now it's a race against time, a race in which even the slightest technical mishap can spell disaster. The plan is to get about 1,000 people out every hour. Finally, the first flight is cleared for takeoff. Operation Solomon is underway, named for King Solomon, who married ancient Ethiopia's Queen of Sheba. But to many, the scenes recall the Israelite exodus from Egypt. These soon-to-be Israelis have left behind everything they own. As a result, the airplanes carry twice their normal passenger load. More than 1,000 Ethiopian Jews filled this jumbo, a world record. As this first flight takes off, even an American diplomat closely involved in the political negotiations can reveal his feelings.
Well, if you keep asking questions like that, I'll begin to cry, and professionals cry sometimes too.
Operation Solomon moves into the night. Family groups patiently huddle together. When their turn comes, Israelis, among them former Ethiopians, carefully lead them through the darkness, tied together to prevent anyone straying or getting hurt. As daybreak nears, the pressure is on to move even faster as people are loaded into seatless military transports. Outside, Israeli doctors have their hands full caring for the sick and delivering one of the 7 babies to be born during the airlift. At day's end, Operation Solomon will be over. So will this 2,000-year-old story of Jewish survival against all odds. The next chapter in that story is about to begin.
The moment that door opened and you walked up the stairs, but take me back there. How did you feel? How do you feel?
I cried. Months of work and prayers and comes about. Very exciting.
Operation Solomon marked the culmination of protracted diplomatic contacts between Israel, Ethiopia, and the United States, many of them clandestine. Jewish Agency and World Zionist Organization Chairman Simcha Dinitz played a key role from the very beginning. Mr. Dinitz, what went on behind the scenes?
First of all, I want to say that without the United States of America, we would not have been able to pull out this operation. And primarily the President of the United States, who was also involved even as Vice President with Ethiopian Jews, has indicated in this particular operation his full commitment on the matter. It was he who decided to send Senator Boshevich on a special mission, and that began the ball rolling. And subsequently, he and his emissaries, and under his direction, when we had difficulties, I was able to get in touch with the White House, and I was able to get the presidential intervention in a manner that made the operation possible.
And in recent weeks, when things turned really sour in Ethiopia, did the Americans make a further contribution?
Yes, until the last moment. Even yesterday morning, we still had difficulties, last moment difficulties, and without their valuable help, it would have been impossible.
What is the Jewish Agency's role in all this? It had something to do in this.
The Jewish Agency, of course, had a number of roles to play. First of all, it was in charge of maintaining these people alive until the operation. That means that for the last year, we have worked there on education, on opening school for 4,500 kids, in feeding them, in sending doctors together with the joints, with the Joint Distribution Committee, and with the government of Israel to keep them alive, to keep them in some substance, in giving them food, in giving them money to exist, and in giving them education. It is to say 5,000 kids were kept alive this way. Secondly, the Jewish Agency was involved in gathering the people, in registering them and preparing them, first of all on the monthly basis for the immigration. We had about 1,000 a month, and then to bring them to the embassy courtyard and put them on the planes. Thirdly, they, as I said already, some people in the agency, like myself, were involved in the international operation as well, in the diplomatic operation under my previous capacity, okay? And the last one is, of course, to absorb them in Israel. We have doubled our capacity in advance of absorption centers. We have opened 50 new ones in anticipation of this. And we have put these 15,000 people in 24 hours so that everybody has a roof under his head, and we are completely responsible for it for the first year.
As you look behind you and see that Operation Solomon is no longer a plan but a fact, how do you feel?
I feel fantastic because we have worked so hard for it. All of us have dreamt about it, prayed for it, labored on it, and there were ups and downs. There were days we didn't know if we were successful or not. There's so many circumstances that worked, and now that it came about, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
How long have you been doing the nuts and bolts planning for this operation?
This one is about 3 months, 2.5 months operation.
Well, now you have crossed this hurdle. This operation is a success. What's your next challenge?
To bring American Jews to Israel, but not by force. I think by the very nature that this country is going to be now so exciting, with the hundreds of thousands of Soviet Jews, with the tens of thousands of Ethiopian Jews, and the Latin American Jews, and Jews from all over the world. The American Jews will feel lonely staying away. They'll come and join us.
The massive airlift is only the tip of the iceberg, just the very beginning of Operation Solomon. What lies ahead for these Ethiopian Jews is the beginning of their lives as Israelis. The process begins just minutes after touchdown. Jerusalem Online's Carl Percal has the story.
2 hours after landing in Israel, this group of Ethiopian Jews was already being greeted by excited Israelis at a Jerusalem hotel, their new home in Israel for the next year. The sense of relief, of being out of danger, of a long nightmare now over, was evident on the tired faces of adults and children.
My husband, father, mother, all people, all family in Israel.
Already in Israel?
Yeah.
Almost 20 hours have passed since these people were woken in Addis Ababa with the news that by nighttime they would be in Israel. And then the flight to Israel, the landing, the first moments in a new country, in a new world.
مستفيضا وأثارت نقاشات وجدل مجتمعي